And Instagram, thou shall not be moved. Okay? This is going to happen. All right? Shannan E. Johnson here with the Professional Pen. And we are doing our Reasonable Doubt Talkback series with Tristan Cunningham, who plays Tony. And we are going to be able to get her in this room. Okay? In this room. No weapon, come on, formed against me. Put it out there. Come on. Shall prosper. What else we need to put out there? Okay? We're going to do it. Get us in here with Tony. All right? Okay, Tristan. I'm going to try to invite you first. Okay? Hey, Sean, how you doing? Let's see. I'm going to try to invite you this time. You aren't in my list to invite just yet. I don't know why. Let's see. How is it showing me everybody else that I can invite into this thing, but not you? I'm doing okay. I'd be doing better if Instagram would stop being a hater. It will allow me to invite everybody else but you, Tristan. We're following each other, so why won't it do that? Okay, you make the request, and we're going to have to see if we can get this thing going, because this is annoying. If nothing else, if all else fails, guys, we will do a Zoom link. Okay, here is the slide here that says it should be letting you in. I click the button, I click go live, and then it goes, and then nothing happens. And then she doesn't come up. What is that trill about if it doesn't allow the person in? This is ridiculous. I don't want to have to get us on a Zoom because I want people to be able to kind of join as they come, and I don't want anybody to miss that. Yeah, okay. I'm going to try to invite someone else in and see what happens. Let's see. Sean, are you in a place? Are you in a place where you don't mind coming on live? Let's see if I invite you, if it works. Did you get my invitation? Oh.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I got
How you doing?
Doing well.
Well, thank you. Thank you for participating.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so go ahead, and I don't know if I can let you out. Can you get out?
Yeah.
Okay, you drop out,
So.
and let's see if I can get Tony to come in.
Let me figure out if I can figure that out.
Guys, we're troubleshooting. For those who are just now getting here, we are doing our Reasonable Doubt Talkback with Tristan Cunningham, who plays Tony on the series. But we're troubleshooting because Instagram is acting silly. So it allowed us to get Sean into the room. Will it allow us to get Tony into the room? Come on, Tony. Right, Sean, tell me your ways. Sean was like, all I did was push the button. Maybe there's something.
We're here. We are here, folks. Yeah.
And we don't even know.
Sean's got some magic. Thank you,
It
Sean.
was Sean.
And shout out to my friend Cindy. She was trying to talk me through some settings or something, and woo, I did not know. But here we are.
So what happened was they were like, we got to put Sean in the room first. And once we get Sean in the room.
Instagram hates Tony too. Everybody can't hate me.
Everybody can't hate you. Not everybody can hate you. We're so excited to have you here. Thank you for your patience. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. We did it. Woo! Okay.
We're here. We made it. Shout out to Cindy. Thank you for your help.
So we're going to jump right in. And where I love to start, so the majority of my audience is screenwriters, but we also have writers, directors, producers, anybody who wants to be in the film industry who joins us on these things.
Hey,
and so the first question is always, why on earth would you choose to get into this industry?
Yeah, it's a good question.
How did you get to this place that you are? Tell us about your journey into being an actor.
Sure. It's a great question. It's a question that I find myself asking a lot, you know, because
Yeah,
there's ups and downs on the road in every
absolutely.
part of this industry. Writers, directors, actors, all of us, we feel those ups and downs. So yeah, I'll question it a lot. And I think for me, it was really clear from a young age that I was a sort of a storyteller. I grew up, I had the privilege of doing some circus arts when I was younger. I even did a circus. I would leave school early and tour with them in the summer. And I had the
It
blessing
was
of the
so
folks
fun.
there. Yeah, it's really cool. I'm still waiting for them to write a scene where Tony juggles knives. I'm ready.
Good
We'll see.
to
I'll
know.
talk to Ramla. Um, but it was really, I had the blessing of the folks there really tell me, like, you know, you're okay at circus, but you're an actor. I would
Ah,
get so into the story of the theme of each summer. I would even like demand that people only called me in the name of my character. Like one time we did like a pirate theme and I was a pirate queen, and I would like not answer to Tristan. I was like, you mean pirate queen? Like I was so invested in it. So they were like, you know, you're an actor. And so I went to I auditioned for SUNY Purchase, their Theater Arts and Film Conservatory, to get my BFA. And it's funny, I did a monologue with like a bunch of backflips, and they were like, cool, next time, just the
just
words.
the word. We actually don't need the backflips. We
Right.
appreciate the
Take it down a notch. And I was lucky enough to get in, and I was super behind because I was a circus girl, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But they really kind of, that was a school that does cuts. So they really, you know, kind of nailed it. You know, they were like, you got to catch up. You know,
Mhm.
we're not holding back for you. You run and catch up to the rest of us, which you know, I'm grateful for, but it was not easy. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of how I got into this line of work. And I started more doing theater than film and television, but there was this pull for film and television. I was in Oakland. I was in the Bay Area for a long time, 12
Okay.
years, doing
Bay
great theater up there.
Area.
Hey, doing theater up there, and I love the Bay. It holds a place in my heart. But there was kind of a pull for film and television, and I would drive the 6 hours down here. But when I was auditioning, I was like not even a human. So it was like, all right, it's time to come to LA and do this thing.
I know that's right. So you just took the leap.
Say it one more time.
You just took the leap. You took
I
the leap
took I
into
took the lead,
into
and I think
following that.
yeah, and I think I love that you said that because if anybody's outside of LA, you know, now it's a little different. I moved here right before the pandemic, but there's this narrative about LA, right? Like you got to be this and you got to be that and da 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 da. And you know, I was scared. I was like scared to be here. And like, am I good enough for LA? And it's like, of course you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's different than the Bay Area, obviously, or New York or other places. But if you're doing it, you're doing it anywhere. And location, it doesn't matter. So if anybody's out there having those narratives of like, am I a good enough actor for LA or am I, you know, da 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 da. If you want to come here, come here. Do
Mm-hmm.
it. Take that leap.
Okay, so what year are you saying that you moved to LA?
Oh, years. Okay. I also just had a baby, so forgive
That's
my
okay.
memory. Yeah,
That's all
bear
right.
with me. They take your memory when they're born. They just take it right out of you. I moved here, let's say 2019, I want to say.
Okay, great. The reason I ask those
Sure.
questions is because I always want people to consider how much time you've put into your craft, right? So
Mhm.
you went to college to get your bearings and get your foundation. Then you were in Oakland for several years. Were you
Yep.
doing a lot of TV and film in Oakland at all, or was it mostly theater?
Mostly theater.
So you really made your crossover to TV and film in 2019.
Yep, that's
Okay,
right.
so then talk to us about how you go from theater, which is different, right?
Oh yeah. Oh
Right?
yeah.
Like you're on stage and you're learning to act with your entire body, from your head to your toe, right? You're learning
Right.
uh, to reach the back of the theater, you know, and all of these other things. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, it's right here. So talk
Right.
to us about how you invested in yourself and in your craft so that you could learn how to transition those skills from theater into film. And then how did you then start auditioning for film and TV?
Yeah. I love that question. And I miss y'all in the Bay too. I see this comment. I miss y'all. Um, yeah. So and I love that you asked timing because one thing I'm trying to really realize, and I give this to everybody watching, just keep in mind the years, time, sweat, blood, tears you put into all of this. So you might be walking into an audition that, you know, you've just had that script or whatever, handing over, you know, a new script that you've written for the first time, but you're also handing that over with years of experience under your belt. And that's what you have to remember too, you know. It's the first time you're auditioning for this place with this side, but you have this in you. It's in your blood. So just, you know, remembering the years is an important thing because you can kind of forget down the line. But yeah, transitioning from theater. So I came from circus to theater.
Yes, circus to theater
to film. And so the note I got a lot in the beginning was like, whoa,
too big. Too big.
Pull it back.
Too big.
Pull it back, sis. We see you.
We see you're actually right in front of us. And when you're on TV and film, you're actually, they'll be even closer to
right.
you.
So that was a lot. But one thing I always, because that can for theater actors, I think that can be an intimidating thing because that's what we're used to. We're taught to reach that, you know, grandma in the back row, make sure she can hear you, right? But what people always said is like, I love it because the commitment is there, and now just trust it. Trust it
because it's easy to teach someone to pull back.
That's right.
You know. It's harder when you're trying to get them to find that confidence in the first place to be present.
That's right.
And when you're doing theater, because that audience is right there, right then, because they can respond right there, right then, you better be confident when you walk out on that stage.
Hello. Hello. And you know, there's no cut or anything like that. And so that's like, you know, something I'm really grateful for having that theater background is the longevity of commitment, right? Because like, you know, we all know how, you know, film where you do a little bit and then you cut or they change the angle or what have you. You're not doing the whole episode, but with a play, you're doing a whole episode. Your commitment is 2.5 hours long. If you're doing Shakespeare, it might be 3, right? So like that ability to have that commitment, you know, I've done shows where I've been on stage the entire play. That commitment has been a really great tool for me. Yes, we use it differently for film and television, but I'm grateful to have that muscle, and it is a muscle. To be able to hold your focus, you know, for that long period of time has been really helpful.
Yes. And for those who don't know what she's talking about how in theater you're going to do literally start to finish, right? One take hove. If anything goes wrong, you just have to pivot while you're on stage, right?
That's
and
right.
Hopefully another actor can get you back to where you need to be.
Right.
The show is going to keep going. However, in film and in television, at least single camera television, right? Because multi-camera television gets to be a little bit more like theater, but they get to cut. But they get to cut. Like they're going to do the whole episode that, you know, that one take, but they're going to cut because people are going to mess up and things like that, right? But when you're doing something with that single camera, you're only doing sides, right? And so for people who don't know what sides are, they take the portion of the script that you're shooting at that moment, and that's all you're doing. And that can take hours to grab just those couple of lines, just those couple of moments of action. But that means as a TV and film actor, you only had to be prepared to do that part while also keeping in mind the context that happens after and before. That's what makes TV and film hard, is that you're only shooting this, but you have to act as if you have done something already that you may not have done, especially that day, that week.
Let's talk about that. That was a big learning curve for me because I've always had the blessing of, you know, let's say at the end of the play, there's some emotional state I have to get to. I've had the blessing of the steps, right, to get up there. But like you said, who knows what order they're going to shoot things in. So really, really trying to, you know, track where you've been. And the scripting on set is my best friend as a theater actor. I'm like, where, you know, I'll always lean on that. What happened before this, you know, I shot a film with Tubi recently and I kept going, okay, how many times have we met? Right? Because I'm going to treat her differently if we've met 4 times as opposed to twice. Right. So like, I just lean on Scripty so much to like, give me that, because with theater, I had that. You know, I had those stepping stools and you don't have that. And it makes watching television so incredible when you realize, this is all shot out of order. And look at these incredible actors.
Day one.
Emotional state, you know?
Day one sex scene. You're like, oh, hi. Hello.
Oh yeah, I've experienced that. I don't know if y'all have seen Reasonable Doubt, but.
So I'm the person whose clothes you're taking off later. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm so glad that you mentioned the scripty. So for people who don't know, that's the script supervisor. Script supervisors are not writers, but they are the kings and queens of continuity. They know that script inside and out. better than almost anybody on the set. I'm going to say better than everyone, but we don't want to make anybody else feel
Right.
anything.
That's
Right?
okay. You know
You know
what?
what I'm saying? But they are the person who knows the script, and they are making sure that everything that's supposed to be captured is being captured, which means if anybody knows what happened before or what happened after, it's going to be the script supervisor. And so that's a great tool to be using that person to say, okay, hey, give me some, because you hope that your director's going to do that. You hope your showrunner is going to do that. Depending upon what's happening, they will. Depending upon what's happening, they can't. You know what I mean? Because the show is still going. No matter
Right.
what scene you got to shoot, everybody still has other things they have going on. And so it's really cool to even learn that you use that as a tool. That's great.
Definitely.
Okay, so you're realizing you're transitioning, and so are you taking acting classes? Are you doing improv? What are you doing that's getting you prepared to audition for TV and film?
Yeah, I have a coach. Her name is Lilac, and she helps me often. I work with her whenever. So when I get an audition, I look over it depending on what it is and like what's the feel, right? Like something comedy is going to be different than the audition for Reasonable Doubt, or something like that. And I always reach out to her if I have any questions at all. And sometimes it's I'm like, she's a Rolodex. Like
Yeah.
she knows all the shows going on. And sometimes I don't understand a side because I don't know
Yeah.
that show. And
Yeah.
I'm definitely someone who's guilty of like, I watch some TV, but I don't watch a lot of TV. And I know, go ahead, go for me in the comments, y'all. But I got a newborn,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's time. Um, so sometimes I lean on her for that. But what I really lean on her for is her script analysis skills. She is amazing, and she's amazing at advocating for writers. Like
Mm.
I'll work with
We
her
love
and I'll change.
you. We love you, Lilac.
Yeah, Lilac is great, and I'll change a line or two, and she'll say, so what you did there was sort of say that what the writer wrote wasn't good enough, right? So she'll
Yeah.
kind of call me out in that way, and we as
Yeah.
actors don't mean to come
Of course
across
not.
that way, but it's good for her to tell me, okay, oh hi, someone said Tony, hey, uh, for her to call me out on that, or she'll understand the she's amazing at comedy. She'll understand the badunk dump badunk, right? And sometimes
Yeah.
I miss it. Our humor
Mm-hmm.
doesn't always align with the way that writer wrote it or whatever.
Because
So she'll say,
everybody's humor is different,
that's
and
right.
you have to interpret it. And they meant for it to line up and set up this way, and you're reading it a totally different way.
Totally. And it's not coming across funny. And I'm like, I know I'm funny. What's, why?
I
What is
miss
it?
it. I
And
miss
she'll just, sometimes it's just those little subtle, like,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden it hits. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I'm sure you feel that
Absolutely.
with writing too. It's like
Mm-hmm.
one little switch of timing or words or answer, and all of a sudden
And
it
it does.
hits.
Which is why, and I'm glad that she calls you out on this. I don't think it happens enough in like independent filmmaking, that what people don't understand is that the context is what matters, right? And so sometimes if you change that one line, or if you ad lib just a little too far, you have changed the tone of what you said, and acting is reacting. And now this person is going to react to you based on something new that you've said with something that's in the script. And now we've missed the context and we've missed the tone. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And so
Yep.
now we might get to the end of the scene and we didn't reach the goal of the scene
Yeah.
because we decided just to take one small turn
Yep.
here or there. And so it's not that, that, because obviously in TV and film, the writer is not king. In theater, the writer is king. If you change one word, they gonna come for you. One, right? I remember being on stage and I got a note that I said a instead of the.
Oh,
That was my note.
uh-oh.
Okay. So they don't want you changing the word. They don't want you to change it.
No, they
In
don't.
TV and film, some people are, they care that much. But generally speaking, it's more so about whatever you changed it to. Did it change the context? Are we still moving in the same direction? Or did you crack a joke in a place where was no joke? And now if this person doesn't respond to that joke, it looks weird.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what's
Yeah.
happening with that? So that's great. Yeah.
No, and I love that you said that. I have two things to say to the writing community. I'm so glad that I get to speak to
Yeah.
y'all because one thing that I realized with film and television, because I'm still thinking, getting my toes in the dirt here. And so I'm learning every set I'm on, I'm learning. And when I did the Connors, it was they're changing lines left and right. Try this,
Mhm.
try that. You know, they
Mhm.
go back to the writers and say, oh, Shannan did a bad, you did a bad thing, Shannan. We'll go back to the writers and say, you know, let's try this or whatever. And they would just change it in the rehearsals in real time. Because the way that one works is you rehearse all week and then you shoot in front of the live audience on Friday.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Which was amazing as a theater actor.
Yeah,
I got
you're
to
like,
feel, I got the best of both worlds. I got
because you don't
everything.
get that kind of rehearsal in the other stuff. It's like,
No.
okay, are you ready? Sex now.
Right.
Are you ready? It's kill now. You know, it's just like
Right.
boom.
And
You're
you
like,
say a line and
okay.
there's real laughter, you know, happening right after you say it. You know, I almost like turn the camera and like, thank you, you know, but you shouldn't do that. So, yeah, so that, you know, being able to change lines and I think as they get to know characters, they understand, oh, this fits better in your mouth and stuff like that. So it's this ever changing thing, and a play is sort of set,
Yeah.
right? Set. So I love that it's continually changing.
Yeah.
That's really fun. And then the other thing I'll say to the writing world out there is, yeah, let us know if you want us to improv, because some people love
Yeah.
that, and when you don't, you know, let us know that too. You know, because some people are like, oh, I really wanted to see that, you know, at the end you kind of take it somewhere.
Yeah.
We don't know. We're down to improv, but we're also down to be, you know, really honor your words that you spent a lot of time and integrity putting together. So, you know, yeah, y'all let us know.
Yeah. Let them know. And then also, you know, what's great about TV is you get into a rhythm, right? Where you start knowing your character even more than everybody else, or just as much as the writers do. And
Yes.
so it becomes a place where you can really trust. So eventually you don't necessarily have to, you need to say exactly this. Of course, again, there are some plot points we got to hear. You know what I'm saying? There's some things that have to be
We
said.
can't go left. You know, we can't take
Right,
a
you
whole
can't go
new.
left. But eventually it's like, but you know this character, right? So let's just do this. And I love it when a director actually gives you that kind of take. Like when a director says, this time, I just want you to do what you think, you know, what
Right.
you think
What
it
would she
is.
say?
What would
Yep.
she say? Where would she move? Where would she go?
Yep.
And in television, what's so great about that is that your showrunner is there. Likely, whoever wrote the episode is there. That's not always the case. But then now they can also see, oh, I actually like that. Now we can make that change in the script. Now we can let everybody know what the changes are. Go print out everything. These are the things that change. This is what's happening. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
sometimes it's a little more strict and you don't get that. But I love when that
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, and I got to shout out Mo. He was the director of episode 205,
Oh,
and
yes.
that was the first episode that I'm in the second
Mhm.
season. And he said exactly that. You know, we talked about the scene a little bit and about our relationship, and then he gave some real good like you know, A and C. I always say like A and C, and then B was for me. And he
Yeah,
said, you know your character, you know
yeah,
her.
yeah.
And sometimes, you know, I am very much, this is something I got to work on. So I'm going to be real transparent and real. I'm a very much a director's actor. I really love, you know, overthinking everything and talking about the nuances and every direction it can go. And I really want the director. Sometimes I'm really seeking approval.
Um,
And in that moment, he said, you know, and
yeah.
it was just,
Trust.
I mean, he's an incredible director, as you can see from that episode, and the many other things he's done. But just to remember that like, of course we want to be directed. We got to be able to take notes. That's important.
Mm-hmm.
And make shift and be flexible. But also at the end of the day, you do know.
Yeah,
And him saying that, I was like, I do know, you know,
yeah.
Tony's
You
in there.
do. That's great. And that also talks about leadership, because I think what people don't realize a lot in this industry is that so many of us are playing the role of manager. And I don't mean manager in the sense of I help you to get roles. I mean manager as in like you are the person that's helping to develop my skill, right? Like as the leader. So when you're working with different directors, the way that they work with you instills that confidence in
Yeah.
you, versus like, you know, if you're on your regular 9 to 5 and you got a micromanager or a boss,
Oh, it's
then
hard.
you're going to be thinking all the time, like, I mean, am I doing it? Is it, you know, what, right? But your job as the manager of me is to help me understand what my strengths are and to push me into the direction to work on my weaknesses, but also making me feel good so that when I leave you, I take what you've learned, what you've taught me into the next things that I do. Like, I never want someone to pick up bad habits at the professional pen and then go tell people that's where they got it from. No.
Ooh, say that again, that part.
No, that's not what we want. So now you're able to say how Mo, as a leader, like put the directing part to the side, right? But he understood as a leader that he is helping to mold your confidence in you about the work that you do. And that matters with every other set you're going to set foot on.
Oh, let's just, you said a whole bunch of beautiful things right there. And this goes back to theater, but one of the best directors I ever had in a play, she really looked at what she had. And of course, it needs to fit the story. And we're doing a Shakespeare play, which, you know, can have its challenges and stuff like that. We're doing Measure for Measure. And she looked at what she had and she pulled from us. And even the first day, she just sat with us. What do you do? What do you like? What do you, you know? And that was just really profound for me because we are bringing ourselves to this. So if we can, and sometimes they're different than us. I'm not as wild as Tony sometimes, most of the time. No. So just to pull, if you can, I think as a director, if you can pull, you know, and I'm not a director, but if you can pull from what a person has, it's just going to be so much more rich of a performance, right? Absolutely. It's going to come from me. And when we have those directors that sort of tell us how to say it, tell us how to move, all of a sudden it's not organic from me. Yeah, exactly. And if you give a line reading, it's like, it ruins it forever, right? I'll never be able to say that line from me ever. You know, so I just put that out there to directors. I know sometimes you have to, you're in a situation where you're like, just say the line like this. But if you can try to say, stress this word or try this, be patient with your actors. Because as soon as you do that, you rob them of ever having it be their own organic experience, you know? And
everybody is adding to this creative process as a collaborator.
Right.
And one of the reasons that someone casts an actor is because of what they can bring to it, right? Like, we're not looking for robots. It shouldn't be, well, I can play anything. Of course you can. But the reason I want you to play this is because there's something in you, right? Again, not one-to-one. Oh, well, you used to cheat on people and you had sex with all the football players. Nah, you know what I mean? It's not
Killers
that.
don't actually kill people on TV, right? So it's not that.
But there's something in you, right? And then my job is to allow you to give to the creative process, because we learn growing up, and I say this all the time, we learn growing up that two heads are better than one. And then we get into Hollywood and we think, can't nobody tell us nothing about nothing. Like, why wouldn't you want all of these collaborators who see things from a different perspective to put it out there? Because something that you didn't even think about, that actor just brought to the table. And if you didn't give them that chance to do that, if you just said to them, it has to be done like this, then you would have never seen that.
Right.
So I, as a director, and again, I come from theater and directing, so I enjoy directing actors. I do not enjoy choosing the camera angles and doing I don't want storyboard. I don't want right? And so people ask me, like, are you going to direct? Are you going to direct? And I'm like, no. But I'll co-direct if it's just me working with the actors, because I enjoy doing it. But a lot of, when I'm giving a note, a lot of it is coming from a place of, again, contextually, what's supposed to be happening and how I can get the actor to emotionally find that place. Because it's not that I need you to give the line exactly how I wrote it or I hear it in my mind. I need you to understand who your character is, what they're going through right now, and how they would then deliver the line. So, you know, I think in that micromanagement thing of say it this way and I just need you to do it this way, it's like you're taking the creativity out of it. You know what I mean? Like, what can you give to get them in the mindset to try it different ways? You know what I'm saying? And that helps. So writers take acting classes, writers take directing classes, actors take writing classes, take directing classes. All of that helps with the language of how you know how you can work with each other.
Yeah, no, it's so true, and I think that's how, you know, when I started as a circus. Oh, all right, see you all later. Thanks for being here. And I'm reading your comments, and I just want to say to y'all, they're wonderful. Yeah, I think, you know, for a while, being a circus person who came into acting, you know, I was like, I thought there was a Shakespeare voice you did. I was like, when do I learn the voice? You know, and I thought it was just memorizing lines. You know, until I realized, you know, it's not, you know, hand me the cup. It's like, why are you asking for the cup? It's not the way you say hand me the cup. Why do you need the cup?
Why do you You need the cup.
Are you
Yeah.
desperate? Are you, you
Yeah.
know, thirsty? What?
Yeah.
Right? So I think,
Yeah. And that's directing right there. And it's asking the actor that exact question. Why do you need the cup? Are you desperate? Are you thirsty?
right.
Are you, it's like
Are you
I'm gonna age
distracted?
myself. It's like White Man Can't Jump. And
Uh-huh.
she would always say, I need a glass of water. And he was like, oh, I don't understand why you need the water. You know what I mean? And she was going to think about, it's not about being thirsty. It's this, is blah,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. But
That's beautiful. Okay, we got to tie that in with the cup analogy. That's a whole lesson right there.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you start doing your auditions. How do you get to this reasonable doubt audition? What was it like? Give us the stuff.
Sure. So they asked for a fair amount for the audition. So I was stressing. It was several pages, and it was if you've seen. So I was on season one. I was just in one episode on season one,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is important to know. I just did a guest star on season one, not really knowing, what
Where
would be the
it's
next
going to
step.
go.
And
Yeah.
that's how television is. Who knows? So when I auditioned for it, it was quite a bit of text. It was majority of my scenes with McKinley, who plays Lewis, who's, shout out to McKinley.
Yeah.
Let's just hold some space for that brother. He's amazing. So it was a lot. I couldn't schedule time to work with my coach. So I was like, okay,
Right.
this is me. But I also felt I had a grasp on her. I wasn't actually nervous about that, because there's some where I'm just like, I don't call on Lilac for him because I'm like, I know this. I know what it is. And I think that's important, actors, to know that too. When you got it, you got it. Trust yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because you can get a bunch of notes and get jumbled and then give a performance that's spread thin, right, and not specific.
Mm-hmm.
But if you know it, and I try to remind myself that too. So I did the initial audition, and from the beginning, they were like, hey, there's some intimacy for this character. Are you okay with that? Kim Harding was the casting director, and she said it straight up. Like, let me ask you right away.
Yeah.
And I auditioned on Zoom, which also, that was still, Zoom auditioning on Zoom is still new to me, even though I've done it a lot. I don't know if others feel that out there.
The people aren't there. You can't feel them. It's all of that. Yeah.
Right. And you know what trips me up is I always think in my head, this is me, messing myself up, but I'm like, is the internet, is it choppy? Can you see? Like the way Instagram did us. Yeah. You know what I mean? I worry about those kind of things.
Are they, and then they're looking at you do this.
Right, exactly. And that's
then
what I
you're
worry
doing
about
a little
on top of. Right, I'm saying my lines, I'm thinking about where I'm at, and then on top of that, I'm like, I hope the internet connection is good. It's crazy with your mind, you know what I mean?
Then you're like, do they see me thinking? Am I supposed to still be talking right now? Because I'm totally thinking about the internet. It's so meta, right?
It's all of it. So I did it, and one thing, Carl Seaton was the director of the first of episode 7 in season 1.
Mm-hmm.
He's also an incredible director. I mean, the intimacy that I had to do, I was in such good hands for a demand that high,
Yeah.
He gave me a direction, and he said, let me hope I can remember with this newborn brain. I have a newborn. I'm not newborn. He said, do it, but don't, because Tony's pretty flirty in the party scene. She's like, I was married, but I'm not. I live my best life. Whatever. She says some stuff like that. You can too, Lewis. And he was like, flirt with him, but I don't want to know that you're flirting. He said something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of take away how obvious it was. And I remember in the moment I panicked. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah. What do you flirt? Not flirt.
But I realized that what came out was that needing to pull back that we talked about, right? Yeah. I was like, hello, Lewis.
Right.
And he
hello,
made me
trust.
Right, exactly. Lewis. Which was not what the scene needed.
Right.
It's not shimmy. We're not shimmying. It's not in the script. No. But what he did was, and then I just trusted myself, like, it will be there. And it was what we were talking about, that it was that flirting without it being like to the camera, like, see that flirting, wink, wink, it was there. So I just always remember that in that audition, like, he made me like, you don't have to do that much. It's there.
Yeah. And especially because what's coming to mind for me, and obviously I'm going to bring my writer's mind into it, because who knows what information you had, who knows what had been said before then, but it's like, they know each other, right? They're kids kids go to the same
Cool.
schools or something.
Yes, they do.
Tony knows Jax as the wife.
Yep.
And so it's like, okay, contextually, would I outright flirt with her husband?
That's right.
I know what I want, but I also need some plausible deniability.
Right, right, right.
If anybody
And Tony's smart.
realizes what I'm trying to do, so I can't just be overtly, flirting. I got to figure out how to let him know that the door is open without telling him the door is open. Because, I know y'all.
Right. And folks there know me,
And everybody at this party, everybody knows me. They know you. They know some of these people might know I'm already sleeping with the other dude, JT, right? Which I don't know if I knew at that time. Obviously we're getting that information a little bit now in season 2 or whatever. And so it's like, girl, you got all this going on. You can't just walk in there and be like, hey.
That's right. And it's so much more interesting too, to not just, hey, right? And to add in those layers. Those are layers is what you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because me and my friends, we watch each episode together. And my one friend, David, he's on here. He asked me the other day, how well were you friends with Jax? I need to know.
I need to know.
He asked me
because I need to know if I'm supposed to hate you or not. Like, am I supposed to hate you or not? I need to know. Are you a bad guy?
Right. How tight is she with Jax? And it's a really good question. And I have my theories, but I said, that what's the evidence there, right? Like our friends, our kids are friends. We've hung out. I'm much more close with Chanel than Jax, but Jax and me are friends.
Right.
I don't think I'm not the Ladare lady. I'm not tight with her like that, but we're friends. Don't hate me, y'all. But I do think Tony, I've had my eye on Lewis.
Yeah.
Like when they split, I knew what my next move was. Let's say that.
Yeah. And in my opinion, look at me throwing in context. In my opinion, you're probably closer to Lewis than you are Jax because Jax is always working. You probably see Lewis more at the drop-offs and the pickups and the PTA
he's the dad
meetings.
that's doing that. That's right.
Right? So it's like, yes, I know your wife. Yes, maybe there's been some times where the moms might go do something here and there, but he's probably someone you see far more often because he's there doing a lot of those parental things.
Yep.
So
I've had my eye on him, I think, for a minute. We'll say that.
Waiting on Jax to get caught slipping. Hey. Waiting. Okay, so people are already talking about it in the comments. So let's go ahead and get in there.
Okay, let's go.
But the first thing I'll say is, how are people responding to you? Are they like trolling you behind not realizing that you're not actually Tony?
Okay, so it's fascinating. I was talking to Dallas, who's a staff writer, who you had on here, and I watched it. It was a great interview, and I adore Dallas.
Thank you.
I was talking because we kind of send, Black Twitter, goes crazy. So we kind of send the messages and, it's fascinating to me and it's hilarious and I love it. And they come for me. I remember after the first season, I got everything, wench, khaki harlot.
Meanwhile, they were separated.
They were separated. And the interesting thing is, everybody was really mad at Lewis too, but less mad at Jax. I'm not saying anything by that. I'm just stating facts, okay?
I'll say it. What y'all mad at him for? Y'all not mad at her. I've been saying it from the beginning. She's the problem. I don't care. I'm Team Lewis. She is the problem. And I don't mean that to say that she's a terrible person. I love how flawed she is. Yes. And in her flaws, she's the problem. Right? Like even now, it sucks that Tony is pregnant. But at the end of the day, had there been no separation, Lewis would not have slept with Tony. It took him a long time to decide to do it in the first place. He finally got to a point where it's like, well, maybe my marriage isn't going to work. Maybe I should be able to have some fun. And he had some fun, and here we are.
It's true, because Tony kept coming, she sees him at the party like, oh, hey, I thought you forgot my name because you didn't call me. She was texting him left and right. Oh, I'm doing this, da-da-da.
Yeah. Are you coming to the school today?
See you.
Who's dropping the kids off? Setting up play dates. Well, the kids said they wanted to.
Right. Hattie said she wanted to play with, name or whatever. So Tony made it crystal clear, and that's one thing I like about Tony. Everybody hates on her, but she got divorced, and
Yeah.
she decided she was going to wild out a little bit,
Yeah.
and she did it.
Yeah.
And was it kind to friends? No. Was it
No.
honest? No. But did she have her fun? She
She
did.
did. She did. And we don't know what kind of marriage she was in, that once she wasn't in that marriage anymore, she said, you know what? All of these stereotypical things that society tells the woman she has to be, and I was doing all of those things, and look where it got me.
Right.
So now
Right.
I'm about to go out and be a menace.
That's right. And she said, right. Oh, honey colored harlot. That's another one I get called a lot. Oh, Tony's Lord. Thank you. TG 54, 55. No, she tells Lewis, she says, since I've been divorced, I have time for myself. I started
Yeah.
going to the gym. I have time for me. So she did get selfish in that, but hey, and I'm not saying she's a good friend. I'm not saying everything she did was honest, but to be selfish and do some self-serving, hey, I'm not mad at Tony for that.
Because at the end of the day, she's living her life. Lewis didn't have to sign up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, she decided, this is what I'm doing for me. I've decided I want a little piece of you. He had the right to say no.
He did.
He could have also chosen a woman that nobody knows. Instead, he chose probably the convenient thing, right? It was like, you're here. There's also a level of trust there. Again, this is context that I'm adding. I've been seeing this woman for years. Our kids know each other, blah, blah, blah. If I'm going to do this, because this is not who he is as a person, if I'm going to do it, why wouldn't I do it with somebody I feel like I can trust? I mean, turns out he couldn't trust Tony. You know what I'm saying? But all evidence on his side said this is probably a good idea.
Right. She's got kids, you know what I mean? So
yeah. And it sucks because you make it into real life, right? It's not real life, but all of us are thinking like, oh my God. We can understand as adults how easily something like this can happen, which is why it's easy for me to see it as like, this is forgivable because it's easy to happen. The problem is the baby is now going to be here for eternity. So you have to keep
that's when things
looking
change.
at it.
That's when things change. Yep.
Yeah, you got to keep looking at the proof.
Right.
That this thing happened. And now we have to share resources. And I think that would be the biggest thing for me. So now what was supposed to be for our family, our children, because it's not the kids' fault, right?
Right.
Now we have to open this up and offer resources out this way. Now we have to show our children for their sake that we can be adult about this thing. So now this woman has to be in my house and stuff.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
on either end, for Chanel and Jax. You know what I mean? So the baby is a new layer.
It's like you can forgive the cheat because that wasn't really a cheat because of the separation.
Yep.
Yeah, you can forgive the pregnancy scare of it all. Right. Like, okay, I understand how something like that can happen. All right. But then when there's going to be an actual human being, that again, my selfishness would kick in because I would understand my role in the parenting. Like, we are now a triangle. And if Tony ever gets somebody, we're now a square. I'm also going to be responsible for this child's growth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now my kids are in their teens, and now I got to do this again. Is what y'all are saying? That's the part that would be like, oh.
It's a lot. It's a lot. That's what Ramla does to us all.
It is a lot. Okay, so people are dropping comments. Dropping questions into the chat. So I'm gonna ask you some of these questions.
Sure.
For those of you who might have questions for Tony or for me or whomever, there is a question mark and a dialogue bubble down at the bottom of your screen. Click it and you can put your question in there. So let's see. The first question is, what type of character would you like to play that you haven't played before?
Oh, that's a good question. Tony's fun. What other characters? Well, I think, as television and storytelling expands and we get to see more representation on our television screens, I would love to see just Black women playing more characters. You know, I think it for a while, and this is changing, so I want to hold space for that. But for a while, and you know, this happens in LA a lot, but we get stuck in the, you know, cop sort of, you know, nurse, that kind of box. And I'd love to see I'd love to play outside of that box. There's this great series. Why am I forgetting her name again? I have a newborn. Chewing Gum was her show, and then what's her name?
Somebody's gonna put it in the box. Because now, look, now you got my brain going.
Right. She just
I know
did that
you're
other
talking about.
show where she was a writer.
Um,
Anyway,
it'll come to us.
It'll come to us. Her character in Chewing Gum was, I had never seen a Black woman on television quirky like that.
There we go, Michaela Cole.
Yes, Michaela Cole. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tanisha, that's my homegirl. And I realized, and maybe that's because I haven't seen a lot, but her character was quirky and goofy and clumsy and nervous and all these things that I hadn't seen. So I would love, I'm kind of answering the question. I'm kind of going off on a tangent. My apologies if you ever asked this. But I would love to just dive into more character work that's outside of the realm of what we've seen. And I'm not saying that the Black women on television who are playing cops and lawyers and whatnot aren't killing it, because they are. And Ayatsi is one of them. She is one of the most fabulous actors on the planet. Watching her as an acting class. But I would like to you know, expand on that.
Yeah.
Hi, baby.
What I would like to write, and I'm just coming up with this right now, so just go with it. I like to write flawed women, period. I think we often write the women as these perfect beings because we're usually using them as a victim to motivate whatever the man is doing in the film or the TV show anyway. So in order for them to be great victims, they have to be kind of close to perfection.
We're going to have her join us. She's going to join us.
Join us! Which means we also get men who are heavily flawed, right? And then they rarely get to have any redeemable qualities. So I like to flip that a lot, which is one of the reasons why I enjoy Reasonable Doubt. I like that Jax is flawed.
That's right.
I like that I think she's the problem.
Yep.
I like that Lewis shows up as such a decent human being. A lot of people don't like it because they think, you know, that makes him a simp. You know, that makes him a punk, that they think that makes him not someone that you can respect. But men can be kind.
That's right.
And men can be thoughtful. And men can put their families first and can want their relationships to work and not literally be with every woman who throws themselves at them, but can also have their moments of, you know, weakness.
Yeah.
But even within that, we don't get to see enough Black women killers and murderers.
Yes.
And so we saw it in Swarm, right?
Yep. We did.
But other than that, we'll see it in more like soapy drama kind of stuff, which is, you know, kind of like Lifetime, kind of, maybe even Tubi, kind of weird things like that. But I just mean like a straight up, you know, like Jeffrey Dahmer as a woman.
Let's go. I'm ready. I would like to audition for that. You let me know.
And I don't know if it's, you know, obviously you can't put all people in one box, but is it because people think that we're so nurturing and we're such leaders and we hold our communities down that we couldn't possibly be the person tearing it up? Like we couldn't possibly be the person taking lives. Like Black women are the superheroes. We're not the villain.
Right.
Like we might be the villain for some people in life when it comes to dating and blah, 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 all that stupidness that happens on TikTok all day, right? But like outside of that, most people really see us as a superhero. And I'm going, yeah, but
what else?
I want to see, what does a real Black woman villain look like? And not the cartoon version of it where it's like it's a Marvel film and you just put you cast the Black person. Like, no,
something
like
dark.
What's the dark? I want the darkness because I know that exists. I know it exists.
No, I'm with you. And again, it's a thing, and it's crazy to say, but it's like we haven't really seen that. And call me out, y'all, if I'm wrong, but like I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Sophie, so much room for us.
Yeah, killed her random boyfriend. Okay, you know, like sure, but like something that's really dark, like Dexter, like something that's just really, you know.
Or you,
or you know what I mean? Where it's like, you crazy, you know? What's going on there?
I love that.
Okay.
Again, I would like an audition. I'm ready.
All right.
I got a
I'll
dark side.
keep that in mind. Okay. Question. Is working in LA hard sometimes?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, I found that working everywhere has its challenges for sure. You know, in
Absolutely.
the Bay Area, I was doing theater and I was constantly in plays and just sort of getting by and you know, play after play after play after play, and I was tired. So that was the challenge there. LA has its different challenges. It's not, you know, I'm not doing play after play after play. I'm doing, you know, you know, out of every 10 auditions, maybe I'll get a check a bail on one, you know, actually more than that. Let's say like 30.
Yeah.
Let's be real, actually. Let me be real here. So it's a different kind of hustle. The parts that I find the hardest, to be honest, is like community here. Feels challenging.
Yes. Hard
People
to
are like,
find
oh,
the
you're in the
people
Valley,
here.
I can't make it. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Whereas in the Bay, there's, you know, in the soil of the Bay, you know, maybe because of Black Panther,
Yeah.
you know, there is a community there that's rich. And I haven't found that here in LA. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I
It's
haven't found
hard
it.
to find. It's hard. Are you in the Valley?
I am. Yep.
I'm in the Valley.
Oh, okay. Hey, we start community right now. Look at this.
Well, that can happen, but no, it's really hard, and it's hard to build friendships in LA, even if it's simply because if you live in LA proper and I live in the Valley, I'm not going to see you often.
Right.
I'm not just dropping by your house.
If we're going to do that, it's a commitment.
It's a commitment. One of my closest friends here lives 7 minutes away from me. She's in Studio City, and she's thinking about, you know, getting a new apartment. And sometimes she brings up different parts of the city, and I'm like, well, girl, it was good to be friends with you, but
it's over. We're breaking up.
It's over. We're breaking up if you move over there. Because when am I going to see you?
It's hard. And I think too, I just want to say this because it's industry folk and outside industry folk. So this is for everybody actually, but we have got to, this is a hard line of work and we got to just support each other. Like, you know, when I first moved here, I felt some pretty intense competition stuff. And it's like, what door is for me and what door is for you. And I support your door. Absolutely. That's not my door. It's yours. So I think, you know, it's hard enough as it is. So getting that kind of stuff out of the way is just, you're just more open for better work. You're not polluted with that, you know, and I will say this, I just want to shout out to the, you know, the other women on Reasonable Doubt. They are, you know, Shannan is one of the kindest human beings on the planet. Just I was in one episode and cheered me on the whole time. Emma Yahtzee, Tiffany, Angela, these wonderful, you know, women, Black women who are on the show are just so supportive. And I think it comes from Ramla. It comes from the top down.
Absolutely.
That's Ramla. That's the tone that she sets. You know, she leads with grace and integrity. And it's walking on that set, I feel like I can be me. But I just want to say that, you know, with the other industry folk here, we gotta be supporting each other. It's too hard.
It's too hard for you to be adding to the problem. Like, I don't need you to add to the stress.
It's too much stress. It's too much stress. My friends know. My friends are all on here. They know. I'm running here and doing this and teaching so that I can sustain it. We don't need that any other.
Yeah, we're all working 15 jobs, guys. Cut us some slack.
Right. So back to the question. Yes, it is hard. It is hard in LA, but it's absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
Like having the fans be so into the show and having my friends text me like. My friend Jamisha, who's on this live, you know, when she watched episode, the first season, she said, "Oh, I hate you." She texted me, "I hate you. I'm so mad at you." You know what I mean? Just to have your work be recognized in that light and have people feel so passionate about it, that's the gift. So it is hard, but it's worth it. That was a long way to say that. Absolutely.
All right, we got 2 more questions in here.
Oh, okay.
Do you like theater, TV, or film better?
Oh, that is a really good question. So I love them all for different reasons. I think my favorite is film. I love theater. Like I said, there's a commitment, there's an agreement that everybody in the cast makes. Once you put your foot on the gas, the car is moving. There's no stopping. You are in movement, right? TV has its own, like, it's so fast to me. This, that, you get in wardrobe and they tug you over here and makeup and go. And you have to like trust yourself in this different light and be in that moment no matter what. As soon as action hits, it's like, okay, I'm present, I'm here, right? And then, but film, what I like about film is it feels like it has that fast feel, but then there's tends in the films I've done, y'all can tell me if I'm different. There tends to be a little bit more rehearsal, and
Yeah.
than television.
And you
And
would think it would be the other way around. You would think that TV would get more rehearsal because you're getting your 8 days, your 8 day shoot. You get, and then you shoot your next 8. You would think that you would always get a good table read, a good rehearsal or two. But it's like, no, those 8 days you're shooting.
it's fast. You get, we go on the Zoom, we read through the episode, but it's just to read through it.
Yeah,
More for the other end. I think they make little tweaks and stuff like
absolutely.
that. You get the final draft, you get your sides the day of, and you're off. You're off.
Yeah. Good
Go.
luck.
But film, I also just like, people are like, oh, you watch the episodes of Reasonable Doubt. Yeah, well, there's storylines I don't know anything about.
Mm-hmm.
Shannon's side of thing, I knew a little bit of Chanel.
Mm-hmm.
I knew, I know snippets because it is connected to Tony.
Right.
But, and watching her work,
Yeah.
right. So, but with film, depending on what you're doing in the film, it feels like you get the whole aspect of the sort of the episode or whatever of the film. So I like that. All right.
Yeah.
I think I answered the question.
We talked about this last week with Angela about how you get, your table read, which is like the one time that you see the script. But outside of that, because you're only getting sides every day, you really don't know what other people are doing. You don't know what's happening in the show until you see it together. And then we were talking about how y'all shot that a long time ago. It might be airing for us now, but like for you, it's like, okay, what happened in what episode?
Right.
You know what I mean? When does this part happen? Like, know which episodes you shot, sure. But outside of that, it's like you're having this experience, you're watching it happen with us at the same time. It's not, you're privy to a little bit, but for the most part, it's news to you too.
No, totally. And I had forgotten, well, I had a whole child, but
Yeah.
I had forgotten certain things, and I saw, oh, right, that's right. Oh, yeah. So you're totally right about that.
Yeah.
And what was the other thing I was going to say about, Angela and Tim, who plays Daniel, and shout out to them. And Daniel, I wait for my Daniel scenes. I'm like, please. And I think he did an interview.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah. I mean, Tim was dropping gym after gym after gym
Take notes.
after gym.
Take notes. Him and Angela, I had never met them until I shot season 2. And Emma
Wow.
I think we spoke for maybe 5 minutes before, season 2, because we did one party scene. We go over to Chanel to help her set up for the party, but that was it. We had two lines back and forth, but that was it. So yeah, it's all my scenes were really with Lewis.
Right.
So with McKinley. So yeah, it's just wild, I tell my friends that, they're like, wait a minute, like we shoot on different days, we shoot in different locations.
Right. And we might, even if we're shooting on the same day, if we're not in the same scene, I mean, maybe we got to go hang out in each other's trailer if we weren't doing other things during that time, because you're still human beings. You have a whole baby. She'll probably be there with you next time on set.
She most definitely will. She's a set baby already. She's already used to it.
Right. That's why she's hearing all this noise now, but she's like, it's cool. My mom's working. It's fine.
She understands the assignment. Yep. She's like, okay, back on the job.
Okay. So I'm going to choose one of these questions, and this is the one that we'll close with. I'm going to put these two together because they might work together. So,
okay, good. I was going to say, I'll feel sad.
No, don't feel sad. As an actor, how much influence does the script have in your life as you grow as a person? And do you adopt certain traits from the characters that you play?
Oh, I'm glad you asked both. Those are really good questions.
Yeah. So
it's interesting how stars align in your life, because I got the call for season 2, and I was pregnant in my real life, if folks don't know that. And it just wound up that Tony was pregnant too.
Look at that.
I still to this day, I have to tell you, I got the episode and I read it, and I dropped my laptop. you know, and
Which means somewhere
I,
in the universe, if you believe in God, whatever it is you believe in, when you auditioned for this role years ago and became that character, then God already knew that there was going to be a baby that came in your life,
and it just,
whether you knew or not.
right, right. And I won't get too far into it, but you know, having a child in this industry can be intimidating. There's a lot to
Absolutely.
it, and that's a whole nother, you know, live that we should have. You know, you're like, am I going to be able to do it? And so the blessing of being able to work throughout my pregnancy, not easy, not saying it was
Yeah.
easy. Lines would be
At
there,
least
and
you
then the
had some
lines would
money
not be
coming
there.
in.
They were gone. But you know, that was such a blessing. And I think it's okay to share this. Ramla said, you know, even before, you know, she had mapped out certain things way before I was even pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, so just to answer the question about it aligning in your life, you know, and not to share too much, but this is a journey that I am doing by myself as a single mom. And you know, Tony, you know, spoiler if you haven't seen any of this season, but early on, so you better be caught up.
Right.
She says, you know, nobody wants this baby but me.
Right.
So why do the paternity test?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
Which is such a great point of view. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, everybody has their opinions about single motherhood, about paternity, about all of these things. But from her point of view, it also is accountability because she knows that she signed up, right? She was the one flirting. She was the one also with JT. She was the one, you know, blah, blah,
she
blah.
did
So
it.
for
Yep.
her, it's kind of like, this is it. What does that part matter? Because this is on me. I'm going to take responsibility and I'm going to do what's
Right.
necessary, you know?
You're back with Jax. You know, JT isn't with us anymore. I'm the only one that wants this kid. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna step up, you know, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you know, Tony isn't always right, but she's a real one. She's a real one.
Right. Because even in her mind, not thinking far enough down the line, because obviously it matters. Obviously, if there is a man who wants to be present, et cetera, that matters. It's not necessarily a good idea just to keep them out of it. But from her point of view, she probably also thought there's no point in me messing up your life and your world with your wife.
Yes.
You know what I mean? She probably
Yes.
also thought I'm protecting you. So it's not that I don't care about the paternity, but I'm just going to do what I go.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not about to mess up what you got going on.
Yeah, and I believe there's a layer where she's like, you know, where this, you know, I did an interview and one of the questions that they asked was, did Tony mature having a child? Now she has another child, right?
Yeah.
But I did say yes, just in the way that I think a part of her is like, I've done enough to Jax.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
sleeping with your husband, even though you weren't with him, is, you know,
It's enough.
you know.
It's enough. Especially because, you know, they're already in a bad place. You know, they were already in a bad place. They've worked through that. And now you're going to be the person who comes in and goes,
Right.
You know, and so you're trying not to. You're like, oh.
You know, you're back with her, just leave it alone.
Yeah, just
leave it alone.
let it be. But because he's a decent human being,
he cannot.
He can't.
He cannot.
Because,
and you know, that scene, you know, just saying what you said before about, you know, how we portray black men, he just said, you know, I'm not that.
I'm not that.
I can't be. And
because there are plenty of men who would have
said,
cool, thanks.
That's right.
Who might not have even asked about the paternity in the first place,
Unless
they were concerned about their wives finding out. So it's like, okay, well, let me go do my due diligence to figure out what I got to figure out, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But outside of that, there are a lot of people who would have walked away from the responsibility, you know, and Lewis is not that person.
And said, oh my gosh, thank you so much. You're a real one. Bye. You know, I'm out.
Yeah.
Which he kind of did a little bit, but then he said, you know, I can't.
No.
I'm not that dude, you know.
We knew he couldn't.
Say that again?
I said, we knew he couldn't.
Everybody, there's some, you know, a bunch of people that do commentary and they're like, Lewis, we know what kind of man you are. Come on now. And then the latter part of the question, sorry folks, we will get to your question. Yes. And not so much with a character like Tony, but there are some characters, especially if they're more physical, you know, coming from circus, I do end up playing a lot of really physical characters and you know, sort of clowny characters and stuff like that. And I will have a hard time letting you, let's say, you know, my friends would come to a play, you know, where I play a character that's, you know, just bigger and louder and da da da, and we'd be at dinner and they're like, okay, Tristan, like,
yeah, like you're not on stage right now.
right, right, like it's over, curtains have closed, and now can you talk to me like me,
Right?
you know? So there are some characters I've played where it's like it is hard to let it go, but I think it's important, actors, to drop that, especially if you are doing something that's more emotionally taxing.
Absolutely.
Once cut is called and those curtains close or what have you, to be able to let it go is important for the longevity of your mental health, you know?
Yeah. And I think we don't talk about that enough. I mean, maybe because I'm, you know, no longer an actor, you know, I did I did musical theater, but we didn't have those conversations enough in musical theater either. I was in a show where all of the Black people also had to play enslaved people. And so our white counterparts would be dragging us around, pushing us around. We actually had fight choreography, right?
Ooh.
They were putting things around our necks, around our arms, around, you know, around everything. And for them, it was, this is in the play, so we're doing it. And for us, it was, but it's happening to me and it's happened to my people before.
Yeah.
There's a PTSD, there's a mental thing that's happening. And it actually caused a really big problem in our show. But I think that's because they didn't approach it delicately enough to realize that as human beings who have to play this role, and for those who don't know, musical theater is 8 shows a week. So we're doing 8 shows a week where we have to jump into being enslaved and then jump out and hang out with you at the after party.
Yeah, that's hard. That would be incredibly challenging.
Yeah.
And I think we just have to be careful about what we're taking on as Black folk in our storytelling, night after night after night after night.
Absolutely. I actually had one of my coworkers, cast members, say to me, because we had to, you know, put on our garb, and so my hair was like tied up, kind of like yours, tied up. But I also played the princess. But because they didn't want to add people to the budget, I had to play enslaved and then turn around and go change my clothes and play the princess, right?
Ooh.
So as the princess, I had long locks that had tendrils in them. And so oftentimes when I would put my hair up to play the enslaved person, there would be a tendril just kind of hanging out of my thing. And she looked at me and she said, "Oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. I'd buy you." Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so not considering, because I'm going to give her this many excuses and that's it. I know where she's from and I know what her age is. And I also know that putting those things aside, putting race aside, she's one of the sweetest women you'll ever meet, which means she was having a cognitive dissonance in the first place.
Sure.
She didn't understand what the issue was. She didn't understand that she had made that what she said was hurtful, derogatory. She thought she was giving me a compliment.
Right. Sure.
Right. Sure. Without taking in the context of the roles we're playing, what the garb I have on right now, the garb you have on right now, and what that context means when we walk out on the stage. But also when we are on this tour bus and we both walk off the tour bus, I'm carrying a different weight in life than you're carrying. And you don't
understand.
understand.
There's a historical context as well.
Yeah. Right. And so it's like dealing with that kind of stuff. And that's not even, you know, some of the psychological stuff that actors are dealing with when they do have to play these dark roles.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think we don't talk about the mental health of actors more. And someone put in here that it's different for directors and it's different for writers. Like when I go there, I always feel removed enough that I'm not as affected as the writer. Because as the writer, a lot of it is creative license, right? It didn't necessarily happen to me, which also means I'm not considering that someone's going to have to play it, that someone's going to have to do it. I tell writers that all the time. Like, you're writing this thing and it's great and it's good because it's just on paper. Someone's going to have to do that.
Right.
Like that's
Keep that in mind.
Someone's going to have to do it.
Yep. And I think you talk, just bringing it back to, you said so much there that's just so important, and I'm sorry that happened, and I think we need, like, that's not okay.
No.
And I think we're in a culture that's really product oriented, but the product cannot cause harm, folks. It cannot cause you harm, and actors, we do go there, and that's our tool, and we have this channel to do that, but it needs to be done in the most peaceful, caretaking way possible. And just, circling it back to Reasonable Doubt, when they found, when it was out in the open that I was actually pregnant, they met with me. We talked about it. What can our days look like? What do you need to feel safe, to feel okay? Is this possible for you right now? Is this even okay? Right? Like, how can we meet you where you're at and take care of you in this process?
Yeah.
And I think,
and that's new, right?
new.
Like, that's not something that
and it
people have
needs
been
to
getting.
become the norm. I was also, provided resources to, if I was having any kind of, when you're pregnant, you're going through emotions and stuff like that. So there was access to therapy and things of that sort.
That's great.
Yeah. And I think we just need to, shout out to Ramla and all, the leaders on Reasonable Doubt. They were so incredible with me through my pregnancy. In every aspect, not just like, can I get you water, like emotional too. You know what I mean? And I think that needs to be the standard.
Absolutely.
It really
Well, that
does.
is a beautiful, beautiful place to kind of wrap up. We kind of talked about Mo earlier as a director, and you even talked about Carl as a director. But everyone who has come on has talked about how great of a leader Ramla is. So I always try to mention that each time because this is a new live with a new person, and different people are going to see it. But every single person who has come on here has mentioned how great of a leader she is. And so when we talk about things starting from the top, so all of you guys, some of you are not going to have to lead in that way. You might be a feature writer, so you won't be in that position on set, right? Some people may, get on a staff and work their way up. You may be in the EP space. You may be a showrunner. Some of you may be directors. Some of you may be executives, managers, agents, etc. You are the ones setting the tone. You know what I mean? For the professional relationships and for somebody's working conditions. It would be just like you going into your regular 9 to 5 and no one respecting any boundaries all day. And in Hollywood, that's kind of what it's been since the beginning, right? It's like, because we're doing something creative and because we're spending millions of dollars on it, nobody cares about anybody. Like, let's just get it done.
Right.
And so to hear that there are people now moving up the ranks who are of our generation who are changing that and saying, no, you can come to work on a set and feel good and feel heard and feel safe. You know what I'm saying? I think that's great. So I love that you guys always shout her out.
Yeah, she's really something special. And just so people know, she's the creator, showrunner, executive producer, and so it's her show, so she really does set the tone. And she just, I really think it starts from the top down. And I can't put in words exactly how she does it or what the tone is, but I will say this, I can walk onto that set and be me. And I don't feel that always.
Yeah. And it also sets the tone because other people kind of know what's not going to be tolerated. Like, if the person at the top is saying something, you're going to come in and fall in line, or you're going to get out.
Right. And I think, we need to, nobody should tolerate anything that isn't okay. If it's happening to you or you're witnessing it or you heard word, we got to take care of each other in that light. And sometimes the person who's harmed can't do it. So I think we all of us up in here, we just can't accept anything less.
Right.
No,
absolutely.
This is hard enough. Like we said, there should be no harm, harm in the making. No, what's that?
We don't need it.
Somebody was harmed in the making of this season. You know what I mean? Like.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being here. So much for sharing your art, your craft, your wisdom with us. Before you jump, anything you want to share with us, any advice you want to give, anything you want to say, it can be about anything, but we're going to leave you to the last word.
Okay. I just want to say thank you. It's a blast to just talk about the show with folks and see y'all's reactions. And thank you for the time to sit down and watch it and support this beautiful art that we do of storytelling. You know, I think we forget. We need an audience. We need fans. We need y'all. You're like, and this is a show for the people, and you are those people. So thank you. I just, you know, thank you. It's a blessing to do this line of work, and you know, so thanks. And to my friends out there, thank you for supporting me always.
Yes, thank you, friends. Thank you so much. Thank you to baby Tristan, who held it down.
She really did. Excuse me, hi.
Look at her looking like
Bad people.
yes.
Thank you
guys for joining us. We're gonna be here next week, and you will see the flyer go up, so you know who we're talking to next week.
Is it a secret?
So, no, it's not a secret. I just don't ever tell them. I'll tell you.
Okay. All right.
But you guys make sure to watch Reasonable Doubt this Thursday. I believe it comes on Wednesday at midnight. You can start watching Wednesday at midnight. So if you have not caught up, we're 6 episodes in, which means we only have 4 episodes left. So you guys need to get with it.
And there's a lot that needs to get done.
So that means we're about to go on a ride. We're past the midpoint, ladies and gentlemen.
Buckle your
we're past the midpoint.
That's all I can say. Yeah, buckle that seatbelt.
We're on our way out. Hopefully we will like Tony more. I don't dislike Tony, so I'm not in the dislike Tony tribe.
One. I think it's just you.
He probably is. I don't know. I try to understand people. I think it's the writer in me. I understand her well enough in order to be able to write someone and not have it be so black and white. So for me, it's like, she's just a human being, guys.
Thank you. It's you and me. Team Tony, it's you and me.
Team Tony. But hopefully she doesn't do anything to make me jump off that bandwagon. So, I mean, I don't know.
Don't look at me like that. Don't give me those eyes.
All right, well, thank you, guys. I'm going to post this immediately, and I'll be tagging you in it so that you can also post it onto your page.
Okay, perfect. I would love to.
All right. Everybody have a good night.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.